Hello everyone, and welcome to part 1 of my video series about learning Camping Cartographer 3+. Note that this is not actually the first video in this series. I posted a part 0 introduction as well, so if you haven't checked that out, you might want to have a look at that. I introduced the series there and talk a little bit about how the series is going to work. So let's just get straight at it. For this episode, I'm going to introduce you to the Camping Cartographer 3+ interface. The interface of Camping Cartographer 3+ does have a lot of elements, so I'm starting this by giving you a brief overview. I cannot explain or show how everything works now, then you would be watching a several hour long video and you won't be really helped by that. But I'm going to give you a brief overview, what's where, how you use things, what is important, and so on. So let's just jump into it and switch to Camping Cartographer 3+. So this is the window that meets you when you open the program the first time. And let's just quickly see over what do we have here. First of all, at the top we have the menu bar up here. Now, the menu bar is just as the menu bar in any other program. There are a lot of commands, a lot of functionality here, but I won't go through that now. You know how a menu bar works. Right below it, we find something which is a bit more special and more interesting, and that's the Camping Cartographer 3 status bar. The status bar contains a lot of indicators indicating the current settings you have set in the software. The first here is a coordinate indicator, which if you see I move my mouse in the main drawing window here, you can see that changes. It shows you the position of the mouse cursor right now. The rest of them are the properties that will be applied to any new entity drawn. And all of these are clickable, so you can click on them to change the settings. And again, there are some understanding that lies behind some of these, and if I'm going to explain all of them, I'm going to use a lot of time, so I'm trying to just do this briefly for now. So sorry if you don't really understand what everything is about, but this quickly gets a jumbled mess if I should explain everything in line here. So the first indicator is the sheet. Which sheet are you operating on right now? Then you have the color. I click on any color and OK to change it. Then you have the line width, the width of lines you draw, or if you draw solid shapes like polygons, then this will control the width of the outline. If the line width is set to 0, a polygon will be a filled shape, but if it's set to anything other than 0, instead of a filled shape, you will get a hollow shape with an outline the size of the line width you are setting here. Then you can set your current layer, your current line style, dashed, dot, solid, whatever, and your current fill style. This can, for example, be things like solid, which is solidly filled with a solid color, or a bitmap file to use some artwork to actually fill the shape. So when I select something here, evil terrain light, and if I draw something, you can see that this shape should match the settings I've set. When I use a bitmap fill style, then the color is ignored. That only means something if I use the solid fill style. like that. So don't worry if you don't understand why the color when you use a fill like this. So that's the status bar, and in short it just lists up all the properties that new entities will have when you draw them. So if you want to draw something with a different set of settings, then you just change the current properties here before you start drawing anything. Then you have the toolbars. The toolbars go all the way around from the left side over the top and down the right side, and there's a lot of different tools in here. So again, going to give you a quick overview. First of all, you have the map type tools. These buttons, they actually change based on if you're doing an overland map, a dungeon map, a city map, or modern map, or anything else. They change based on the type of map. But they are generally the only buttons that change based on the map. The rest of these toolbars should stay the same. There are some cases that additional buttons might appear, but these change per map type. Oh well, these buttons also change per map type. I'm going to talk about them in a second. So, and yeah, for overland maps, these contain tools like drawing land masses and drawing rivers and roads and things like that. For dungeon map, they would contain buttons for drawing corridors and rooms and such things. Then you have the display speed tools. The display tools. For display speed is just one of them, but some display settings. Then you have the edit tools, various tools for editing entities like copying or moving entities and so on. Then you have the single edit tools, which are used on a single entity at a time. For example, you can use them to add nodes to an entity, remove nodes, move nodes, basically use them to reshape the way an entity looks. Then over here you have the zoom tools. Then you have the entity order tools, which allows you to change the order of entities, which should appear on top on which. I haven't talked about sheets and layers yet, but be aware that these only work on entities within the same sheet. They do not work across sheets. Then below you have here the basic edit, also basic drawing tools. They allow you to draw basic shapes like lines and rectangles, circles, polygons, paths, fractals, and add text to the map. Note that these are the basic drawing tools. With each match style, it also comes a set of different drawing tools for drawing shapes for that map type, like a forest drawing tool and a mountain drawing tool and a landmass drawing tool and things like that. These are more advanced tools that contains built-in properties and makes mapping very easy. So you won't be using these tools that much. You will still use them, but you will mainly use the other drawing tools. But it's very useful to still be familiar and know how to use these tools. On the bottom here, you have the modifier tools. As I mentioned in the introduction video, Campaign Cartographer 3 Plus is actually a CAD program, computer assisted design, and this allows us to do things with a lot of precision. And these modifier tools help us do things like that. For example, if I want to start a line at the exact midpoint of another line, or I need two lines to be parallel to each other, or I need to start a line at the end point of another line and things like that, these are the tools that will help me do that. And for the top, you have the main file toolbar at the top here with commands for a new map and open map and save and print and things like that. And you have the add-on buttons here. My Camping Cartographer install have all the currently available add-ons installed here, which is why I have a lot of buttons there. If you only have the basic Camping Cartographer installed, you are probably only going to have either just the first button or the 3 first buttons. All the others are added by other add-ons. And basically what these buttons do is that they load different menu sets which change the buttons. For example, if I click DD3, we can see that these buttons over here changed, and also these buttons here. So what are these buttons then? These are the symbol catalog buttons. Below here, this large area here, this is my symbol catalog, and this shows appropriate symbols to place in the map. But Camping Cartographer 3 Plus contains a lot of symbols, and these symbols are actually divided up into different categories. And you can use the buttons here at the top to browse through the available catalogs. For example, if I need a mountain, I click the mountain, and now I can click the mountain and place a mountain symbol, and I can go to the city, and I can pick up a city symbol, and I can place my city. I actually managed to rotate it, which is not my idea, but I can place city symbols like that. So these buttons, again, if I change type of map, I have different symbols. Yeah, and you might see this button. Sometimes there are more than one catalog for a specific category. So it allows us to pick the catalog we want. So that's the main important things, with one exception, and that's perhaps the most important one, and that's what you see below here at the very bottom, the command line. Camping Cartographer 3 Plus uses the command line to communicate with you as the user. A lot of things in Camping Cartographer might be done through graphical dialogues, but a lot of the commands, when you work with the commands in the drawing window here, if they need input from you, they will say so on the command line. So it's extremely important that you as a user keep an eye on the command line, and if Camping Cartographer requests some data from you, that you are prepared to give that data. Often that's just pick a point to place something, so it's kind of natural to just do it. But sometimes it will ask for things which you might not know that it needed. So keep an eye there, because if you do not give Camping Cartographer 3 Plus the information it needs, it usually means that the command won't be properly executed, and whatever you try to do would not happen. As you see right now, it has the word command with another word in square bracket. If it says command like this, it means that it's in a state that it's ready to accept a new command from you as the user, just waiting for you to do something, basically. So that's not waiting for any. The word in square brackets is just the last command executed. But if you are doing something, for example, I did show you how to draw rectangles. So let's just draw another rectangle. I'm gonna click the rectangle button, or the box button, which is called. And if you now look down at the command line, you see it says first corner. That's because it needs you to place the first corner of the rectangle. So the obvious way to give Camping Cartographer this data is just click. Okay. See now? It asks for opposite corner. Now, click again. And I've done the command. So as you can see, in most cases, it's not something difficult. And it's probably something you would have done even without looking at the command line. But in other cases, it needs more information from you. So keep an eye on that, and if it does not read command and then something in square brackets when you think you are done with the command, it usually means you haven't completed the command properly. For example, one thing that many people fail to do properly is actually copy and pasting, because compared to other programs, Camping Cartographer needs you to complete one extra step when you copy something. It needs to know basically the center point of what you are copying. So I'm gonna show you that very quickly. I'm going to edit and copy, and I'm gonna select this brown one. When you select something, you can see it says select entities, and that I have picked one. When I'm done with my selection, I can just right click and do it. And here you see it asks for my clipboard origin. Many people will just give up at this point and think, I'm done copying and it's now on my clipboard, but it's not. You actually have to click somewhere to finish the command. And the reason it asks for this is the same precision I was talking about earlier with these modifier commands, because sometimes you need to place something with a perfect degree of precision. It's not good enough to just eyeball it and try to make it fit exactly where I want. And then things like giving an exact point for the clipboard operation is actually very, very important. But I won't go into more details about it right now. It just was a hint to you. Keep an eye open. You do really want to make sure, if Camping Cartographer asks for something on the command line, make sure to provide it. You might also see that on my mouse cursor, you see the same text as on the command line. That's the floating command prompt. And it's basically just a way of making the command line a bit more visible, because you kind of have it in the middle of your vision all the time when you work with it. So you see, if I start the box command, it says first corner down here, and it also says on the cursor itself, first corner of box. It's usually a bit more verbose, the version on the cursor, but it's basically asking for the exact same thing as we have in the bottom. So if you don't want to have it on your cursor, you can go to Tools, Options, and Display Floating Prompt off, and you don't have to see it. If you prefer to have it there to remind you to check the command line, just have it on, and here you can see it. So, but just remember, the command line is important. You can actually do a lot of things on the command line in Camping Cartographer. You can type your own commands directly to the command line, but that's usually more used by advanced users. You don't have to do that. You usually start the command by clicking the button, like the box button, and do the command. Clicking a button starts a command just as you would if you type it on the command line or anything like that. So I'm calling all of these commands because that's what they are, but you just click a button to use them. So one final word that some people don't get is that all of these buttons, or most of them anyway, have a right click menu. So I can right click a button to access more commands related to the function of that button. For example, the copy button have different ways of copying things and so on. So left click on the button is the basic functionality. Right click on the button to get a menu with more advanced options. Okay, that's it for the Campaign Cartographer 3 Plus interface. So I just say thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.